Something pretty interesting just happened in Kentucky, where the entire rulebook for judging beauty schools just got thrown out the window. We're going to break down this huge shift and really dig into a bigger question. What's the best way to measure a school's quality and actually protect students? I mean, it's the question we all ask ourselves, right? When you're looking at a school, how do you really know if it's any good? You read reviews, you check out their credentials, but what happens when the most important credential, that big official seal of approval, just vanishes? So to really get what happened here, we've got to take a quick step back and look at why these schools are regulated in the first place. It's not just about learning how to give a good haircut. It's about public safety and making sure there are professional standards. Think about it. When you're sitting in that salon chair, you're trusting someone with sharp tools, pretty powerful chemicals, and really your health. So these regulations are there to make sure that person was trained at a place that knows what it's doing. And that brings us to the way things used to be. For years and years, Kentucky had this one very specific requirement for all its beauty schools. It was a long, probably expensive process that every single school had to go through just to keep its doors open. Now, the key thing here is that this wasn't optional. The law was super strict. It laid out a very clear timeline. New schools had 2 years just to apply for this thing called accreditation, and then they had to get it done within 5 years. So what exactly is this official stamp of approval? The easiest way to think of it is like a big formal audit. An outside agency, one that's been given the thumbs up by the Department of Education, comes in and does a deep dive. They're there to say, yep, this school meets our standards for quality. It's supposed to be that reliable signal to students that, hey, this place is legitimate. And this wasn't just some friendly suggestion. The consequences were huge. If a school couldn't get accredited in that 5-year window, the state could literally shut them down by yanking their license. It was the ultimate gatekeeper, deciding which schools got to survive and which didn't. But then, in a massive policy U-turn, that entire system, the one that had been placed for so long, it was completely torn down. And we're not talking about ancient history here. This is a very new change. After December 3rd, 2025, that mandatory accreditation rule that basically defined the entire industry, poof, it's just gone, wiped right off the books. So this entire legal framework, the tight deadlines, the very real threat of losing your license to operate, all of it just disappeared from Kentucky law. And the outcome couldn't be more direct. The state didn't just tweak the rule or change a few words. Nope, they just struck the whole thing out. A major pillar of how they oversaw the entire industry was removed in one single move. So what took its place? Well, this slide really gets to the heart of the new philosophy. They moved away from a gatekeeping model where some outside group decides who's good enough to an information model where the whole point is to give students the data and let them decide. So let's actually dig into this new system. Instead of relying on that third-party seal of approval, Kentucky is now betting everything on the power of transparency and public information. The new rule really shifts the focus entirely to results. The state is essentially saying, look, we're less concerned with how you teach and way more concerned with a simple question. Are your students actually passing the state licensing exams? Here's exactly how it works, broken down into 3 simple steps. First, the state board calculates the exam pass rates for every single school. Second, they take those results and post them online for the whole world to see. And third, and this is the real game changer, the schools themselves are now required to show you this data before you even enroll. Okay, so a rule changed. Why should we really care? Well, this is so much more than just a little tweak to some bureaucratic language. This gets at a fundamental debate about how we even measure quality in education. And honestly, this is the best way to think about it. The old system was kind of like a restaurant getting that official A grade from the health inspector. The new system? It's more like Yelp. It's a public report card based on actual performance that everyone can see and judge for themselves. A single shift like this sends ripples out to everyone involved. For students, it means you get access to cold, hard data to compare schools. For new entrepreneurs, a massive barrier to starting a school is just gone, which might mean more competition. And for the regulators, their job changes from policing a process to simply publishing results. And all of this leaves us with one critical question. What's really the better way to ensure quality? Is it that official seal of approval from the experts? Or is it a public report card based on results? Kentucky has made its choice.
And it's betting big on transparency. And you can bet the rest of the country will be watching to see if it pays off.